There's only one way to deal with toxic people, and that is to get far away from them. Hi guys, my name is James, and today we're going to talk about how do you deal with toxic friendships, toxic relationships, toxic interactions. When you find yourself in a toxic situation or a toxic relationship, what do you do about it? How do you get out of it? Should you stay in it? Should you leave? Ultimately, what can you learn from the toxic relationship, and how can you claim responsibility for the relationship? So I think a good place to start is to understand, how do we spot a toxic person? And for me, it's not about the words they use. It's not even about what they do. It purely comes down to, what is the energy of the interaction? What is the energy of that person? And how do they make me feel during the interaction and especially afterwards? Do you feel drained? Do you feel uplifted by this person? Do you feel deflated? Do you feel like there's some inner chaos after you speak or talk with this person? Do you feel like you come away more confident and more sure of yourself, or do you feel like you come away less confident? To me, it's purely about the energy. This actually takes away any of the blame. So we're not blaming the other person or trying to say that their behavior is wrong. We're just looking at, how does their energy make me feel? And if you consistently feel deflated or drained by another person, then it doesn't matter how nice they are, how sweet they are. Maybe they even do really kind things for you and they're generous and they're overall a good person. But if their energy leaves you feeling drained, that's the number one sign for me that it's not a match. You can call it toxic, you can call it another label, but it's not a match. It's like oil and water. The harder you try to make that relationship work, the more suffering you're going to experience. So if you're trying to figure out if a relationship is toxic, or if it's a temporary problem, look at the last couple interactions and notice how you feel after them. And if consistently you've been feeling negative after interacting with this person, then again, it doesn't matter how nice they are, how great they are in other areas of their life, you gotta leave that relationship. Trust your gut, trust your intuition, trust your energy. Now you might say at this point, well, who's to say that they're the toxic one? Maybe you're the toxic one. Maybe you bring out something in them through your own negativity. Maybe you're both toxic. Maybe you both bring out the negativity in each other. That is absolutely true. It does take two to tango. And if you're finding someone toxic, chances are you're also exhibiting some toxic behavior, some wounded behavior. Maybe there's some healing that you haven't done. So it is important to look at yourself in the mirror. This is why we don't blame the other person. But the honest truth is, it actually doesn't matter if you're the toxic one or they're the toxic one. If the relationship as a whole is toxic, you gotta get out. And I had this conversation with a friend once where I was in a friendship that was clearly toxic. And I couldn't figure out if it was me or if it was them. Because I was self-aware enough to know that I had some triggers and I had some issues, and that I did indeed exhibit some toxic behaviors. I was also aware that they also exhibited toxic behaviors, and I couldn't figure out, like, was it them triggering me? Was it me triggering them? Where was the inception of the toxicity? And I was talking to my friend and I was asking him, maybe I should stay in this friendship because I'm growing from it. There's clearly a lot of toxic behavior here, and it's hurtful and it doesn't seem productive, but maybe I'm going to learn something out of it. He told me something very wise. He said, you know what? If you have some learning to do and some growing up to do, you can also do it outside this relationship. There's no rule that says you have to work out the toxic elements of you with this person. They might actually not be a great fit for healing those parts of you. They might be a great fit in triggering them. But there's no rule that says that you have to stay in a toxic relationship because somehow it's making you grow and it's making you learn things. Clearly, it's not working. This was his main point, is that, well, whatever learning you're trying to do here, it's not working because it's been toxic for a while. that really illuminated things for me. It helped me see that, yes, even if I was 50% responsible, or even 100% responsible for the toxicity in this friendship, it wasn't working. Whatever learning it was giving me, it wasn't healing the actual friendship. And so the only sensible thing was to get out and find that healing from other people, other teachers, other mentors, other tools, other resources, maybe do some solo journeys on mushrooms, maybe do some breath work, maybe meditate. You know, there are other tools of healing and of working on yourself, and staying in a toxic negative relationship is probably not the tool. So I tell this story to help you see the same thing, that if you're currently in a toxic partnership, a toxic friendship, and you think that you're staying in it because you're getting something out of it, you're getting some learning, some lessons, some wisdom, I encourage you to take a long, hard look at how long this learning has been going on for. Have you truly learned? Has the other person truly learned? Are you actually benefiting each other in this relationship? Or are you just both hurting yourself? What is the solution? In my opinion, the only reasonable solution, if something is consistently toxic in your life, is to remove that person from your life and end the relationship. And it's hard, and there will be a lot of doubts. You could maybe leave the door open for future interactions. Maybe you both need some growing up to do in a few months, in a year, in 5 years. Maybe you guys can reconnect and it'll be a different interaction. But if something's clearly not working consistently for a long time, it's time to leave the friendship. It's time to leave the relationship. It's time to stop engaging with toxic behavior. And again, whether it's coming from you or from them or from both of you, if it's been going on for a long time, it doesn't matter anymore. It's time to get out of it. The other thing you want to do after getting out of it is to study yourself. That is the time where you look deep in yourself and you study your wounds, your triggers, your traumas, your projections. That is where you go deep within and you try to understand which part of this toxic relationship did I play a role in? How can I dive deeper into my own wounds and my own projections and my own stories and the meaning I give it, and understand myself, understand how I can heal myself more. And the third thing you want to do is you want to look at which boundaries have been crossed, which boundaries have been overstepped by someone. So usually when you're in a toxic interaction, the reason why you feel drained, the reason why you feel angry after, the reason why you feel like something's gone wrong is because somewhere at some point your boundaries were crossed and you didn't stand up for yourself in that moment. You allowed yourself and consented to being treated a certain way. Sometimes we don't realize in the moment that someone is crossing our boundaries and the way they're treating us is not okay. We have certain standards for how we allow people to treat us, and it's very important to uphold those standards. When you find that someone has been consistently overstepping your boundaries, you want to take responsibility for that, and you want to look at which boundaries exactly were crossed. How can you make sure that in the future, when you meet the same challenge with a different person, that you can stand up for yourself in that moment and recognize, oh, this is one of my boundaries. This is important to me. I'm not going to let this person treat me this way or talk to me this way or even energetically barf all over me in this way. So again, it's not just about the words and it's not just about the actions. You really want to look at the energy of the interaction and trust your intuition, trust your eyes, trust your ears, really understand the whole energetic envelope, the whole energetic container of the relationship and the interaction. You will see the truth of it. You will see that, oh, either this relationship truly uplifts me or it's draining me. A great way to understand this also is to contrast your toxic relationship with a very easygoing relationship, a very flowy relationship. Pick a friend that they make you feel so good. and you feel so seen by them and you feel so safe with them. And you never experience these issues with this friend that you do with your toxic relationship. This is really helpful, because if you find out that the toxic problems you've been having show up in every relationship, then of course you understand it's something to do with you and not the other person. But if you clearly see that there is an outlier here, that in most of your relationship you don't experience these sort of problems, but in this particular friendship or relationship you do, that's a good sign. That's a good piece of contrast, because then you can objectively look at that and go, okay, clearly this is something unique to this interaction. And let's look at that closer. Let's understand what boundaries are being crossed here. Why are we both showing up in this way? Where are these arguments coming from? Where is this energy coming from? And the deeper you can understand yourself in the interaction, the deeper you'll understand what's really going on. So I hope this helped someone. I was inspired to make this video after a brief interaction I had this week where I left the interaction feeling quite drained, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. And then I looked at the situation deeper and realized, oh, there were some boundaries that were crossed, and I felt disrespected and not seen in some ways. And again, the point is not to blame the other person, it's to take full responsibility for how you showed up and what you consented to in the interaction. And so after looking at it, I realized for myself, okay, these boundaries were crossed. We're never going to let that happen again. And also, I don't need this person in my life. That the energy that they bring to the table is not a match for the energy I want in my life. It's as simple as that. And I really want anyone listening to this to understand that if you just look at it purely from an energy perspective, it becomes easier to let people go. Because you're not doing it as a personal thing. You're looking at the energy of the interaction and you're making an adult decision. Do I want this sort of energy in my life or not? And the world is full of beautiful people and amazing, unique energies. And there's such a diversity of energies. You don't need to invite or consent to partial matches. You don't need to invite or consent to energies that don't fit, that don't feel good, that don't uplift you. There's enough people out there who are going to uplift you and who are going to love you and who are going to support you, that don't settle for something less than that. Really hold out for the true match and the true friendships and the true relationships, and never settle, never compromise. I hope this helped you. Much love, and I'll see you in the next video.